Nicely fogged up window. But luckily for me, the car started. Get this window cleaned up a little bit if I can. It'll do. This is not the BBC. I'm quite privileged to get a parking space here. This is called the Swan Pub in an area in North Wales called Comerski. Now, many years ago, if you parked your car outside here, it would always get vandalised. The wing mirrors would get kicked off and all that kind of stuff, you know. Coffee poured over it, or paint stripper, or God knows what. And that was a very regular occurrence. But because I always drive old bangers, I used to just park mine outside the Swan. And then, after parking there for many years, no one else would dare park outside the Swan because they knew what had happened. The Swan closed. It shut down and didn't reopen, and then pretty much overnight, absolutely everyone started parking outside the Swan. So my eternal guaranteed spec was no longer guaranteed, sadly. Even after all the adventures I'd been through outside of that place. So that was a shame. Mind you, I suppose I'm no longer driving around in a complete total wreck because it's been destroyed outside the Swan, so I suppose there's some benefits to it. It's starting to get a little bit cooler now. It's not reached freezing just yet. I don't think it's going to be far off, so I'm going to have to get off my bum and get the cars all filled with antifreeze, or check the antifreeze at least. Looks like, I don't know, it looks quite nice ahead, the clouds, but you never know. The weather report in the last, I don't know, well, probably year, every single time I look at it, has been completely incorrect. The other day, for example, I went on BBC Weather and it said, nice day all day, 0 chance of rain pretty much. I think it was like 1% or 2% chance of rain, and it pretty much rained all day. And I think when I looked at the weather report again about 1 o'clock, it said, oh yeah, it's going to be raining all day today. Hang on a minute. Nice empty roundabout, no need to indicate rain. Trying to gauge the amount of traffic. It's still quite light by the look of things. I mean, it is quite early, but even so, it is light. The camera goes off. Well, the view screen goes off after about a minute, so I'm never really sure what you can capture from here, because it's quite a pretty view, really, across the river and that. There are a few trees here. I think when they were building this bridge, the landscapers tried to make it be a little bit more pretty by sticking a load of trees and that around to make the industrial estate pretty. And to be fair to them, they haven't done a bad job, because it does mask quite a lot of the industrial buildings, which probably aren't particularly that attractive to look at when you're driving. But to be honest, most of the time I'm watching the road, though it's nice to be driving through sort of a fake countryside, I suppose. On the left hand side it was all pretty much countryside. We had quite a lot of fields, farmers' fields, and that growing crops. I'm not quite sure what the crops were, whether they were for food or for ingredients or something, you know, for drinks or whatever, but well, there were crop fields along here. There's also like a fishing, oh, what do you call it? Not fishing, boating lake across the way. Possibly a fishing pond as well, that on the left, which you can't really see, is a small pond type thing with what looks like a life raft on it, so I'm assuming that's some kind of fishing pond. What's going on in the world at the moment? Well, apparently there's a vaccine being found for the COVID-19 pandemic virus. I think it's Pfizer, is it? It's a husband and wife team who've discovered it. At the moment their names are not that famous, but if it does actually work, I'm sure they'll become historically very important. See, I don't even know what the names are at the moment, but it's a husband and wife team apparently. Whether this is the actual final antidote, I don't know. It was the 10th of November 2020 and the news was out pretty much yesterday on the 9th when they discovered it. Lots of people are rejoicing. The financial situation took a bit of a leap, you know, the stocks and shares, they all rose because of it. I suppose it's been, I think by the time it's under control, it'll have been 12 months or more that we've had this awful virus. And it'll be good to see the back of it. My only fear really with the antidote is that it's been so rushed, though I suppose a great deal of money will have been piled into the research, so they'll be able to research it far quicker than perhaps normal antidotes and vaccines and that are researched, whatever you call it. Is it vaccine or antidote? Vaccines. Yeah, so I'm just a little bit concerned about the length of time it's taken to do it, because we've had so many wonder drugs in the world over the years and they've led to some nasty side effects, like, I mean, the famous ones are things like thalidomide, that ended up leaving children with all kinds of deformities, thalidomide victims. And even on a personal level, my dad had a severe motorcycle accident many years ago, and he was left with something called a brachial plexus injury with avulsion. And what that means is he loses the ability to use his arm. In his case, it was his right arm, which is a fairly common biker injury. But unfortunately for my dad, he was left with severe nerve pain. So for 25 years, every few seconds he creaks up in agony as his nerves were sort of wandering round inside his body, and every time they touched, they'd give him an agonising pain. I mean, really agonising, proper grimacing stuff. So they gave him a huge concoction of drugs, and unfortunately one of them, carbamazepine, also known as Tegretol, that caused him to develop something called aplastic anemia. What he didn't realise was, over the 25 years or so that he was taking the carbamazepine, it destroyed his bone marrow, so it left him needing a bone marrow transplant. and eventually killed him, sadly. So that's why I'm never overly trusting in medicine. I do appreciate that we've all got to take things, you know, to lower our blood pressures and for our diabetes and for our various other health conditions, asthma and COPD and goodness knows what. But equally, I'm always a little wary. It's nice if there's a natural substitute for it, and my mum is quite good at finding natural substitutes. She swears by herbalists, and I must be fair, there is a gentleman who practices in Abergele. I believe he's been there for quite a long time. Abergele's in North Wales, and I'm not quite sure of his name, but I think he's Polish or Eastern European of some kind, I think. But this gentleman practices in Abergele as a herbalist, and he made a concoction because my stepdad's blood pressure was too high and he kept on getting knocked back for an operation he needed because of his high blood pressure. Anyway, he went to see this herbalist chap maybe a month, maybe just over a month ago, and he's been getting this unusual concoction made out of a variety of different herbs, you know, parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme or whatever, and it's worked. His blood pressure is lowered absolutely spot on, really quickly, and he's now been given the all clear to go and get his off. I mean, really quickly. It was down within 2 weeks, I think. So there's a lot to be said, I think, for herbal medication, in my opinion anyway. I'm sure stepdad and mum would definitely concur as well. Here we are, 2 Mills Light. The gateway to all over the place. You get to Chester, you get to Liverpool, you get to the Wirral, you get to North Wales. Generally a busy little junction there. Yeah, the traffic levels are really low. Not quite at the level that they were at sort of March, April pandemic era, but they're certainly far lower than they were. I suppose a lot of people have still got to go to work, haven't they, you know, even though the government wants everyone to work from home. I mean, I'm coming into another country here, I'm coming to England from Wales, so England is in total lockdown for a month, and although it's complete total lockdown, you can still see all the vehicles knocking around, and not all of these vehicles are essential, I shouldn't have thought. I'm sure a lot of them are, but not all of them. That car that's just gone past holidaycottages.co.uk. Is that essential? So maybe. I suppose if you don't want to go nuts, you're stuck at home. Goredale Garage, £1.13 for petrol, £1.15 for diesel. It's usually reasonably priced here at Goredale's, and I've never had any issue with the fuel, so mind you, I do drive scabby old diesels usually. be a lot busier at the moment than it used to seem pre-pandemic, so whether the word's got out that it's cheap or whatever, I don't know. Very pretty over this side of the way. This is across the other side of the River Dee, so this is the Wirral area. If you carry on this road, but it probably reaches the end of the Wirral, but you go through Neston and you go through, well, you go past Neston at least, and you go past Headwall. You can get to the likes of Arrow Park by going through the name of it forgets me now. Yeah, you get to various areas across the world. Some of them are very pretty as well. I end up doing a bit of a tour of the Wirral at the moment due to the fact that the dratted road that I usually go on is blocked off, sadly. This is my junction, I turn up here. So my clock's on 62 miles at my junction. I wonder how far I go on my way to get back to it. Interesting to see that actually. I've never actually looked how far I'm having to go out the way each day now to get back to where I normally turn off. Unfortunately that lane, like most of the lanes around here at the moment, are closed. I don't know if the councils are taking the opportunity to do some road works whilst the vehicle traffic is quite low, because on the Wirral at the moment most of the roads seem to be closed. There must have been about 5 lanes closed that I'd normally use. Every single one's got diversion signs and things. And they're not for short periods either. Like the lane I use is closed for a month. But I'm going to check and see if the lane next to it, adjacent to it, if that one is open now. Because if that one is reopened, then it'll save me going out my way so much. Loads of sheep in the field across the way. So they're not just restricted to Wales. We have got a hell of a lot of sheep in Wales though, I must admit. As soon as you see a bit of green, there's probably a sheep on it. 114 for petrol and 117 for diesel at the Shell. And obviously it's usually classed as pretty good fuel at the Shell garage, so sometimes I will, if I'm in a petrol especially, I'll come here and get some. I've got a few old cars, they're all a variety of ages. I've just got rid of my Saab 93. That was 1998, so that's 22 years old. I gave that to my brother because he had a full Focus that was constantly playing up, so I said to him that I had 2 taxed, insured, registered, etc. cars, and I was only using one really. I think I was sort of keeping the Saab as a backup just in case mine conked out, but mine didn't really conk out, so I didn't do too badly, to be fair. try and let some people out. Otherwise that junction there gets blocked up all day. I can't usually be bothered with it. I'll go down further down the road and go down the lane that leads to work, but it has traffic lights on. But this one is a tiny bit of a shorter route. Not much, perhaps a mile or two, but at least it's actually in the right direction. I'm not going all the way out my way to then return back to where I need to get to. Quite popular this morning though. Don't usually get this amount of traffic coming down here, so I'm assuming that the lane closures elsewhere are causing grief. One of the things I do like about this lane, although it is a bit of a nuisance to traverse, mainly because of that junction at the bottom, it sometimes is bloody awful. But the thing I do like is this little wheelbarrow full of eggs and jam and all kinds of onion and marmalade and what have you. Just go very slowly past it. There it is. Fresh eggs today, £1.50 for 6 eggs, but they're laid by chickens now. There's a load of cows in the field on the right. I don't know if the camera was picking them up, but on the left there's a little hen house and a load of chickens running around. But you can't, unfortunately it's just a little bit too left, so you can't quite see it, which is a shame. But there's a pile of brown chickens with a couple usually sat up on the fence watching over his girls. So you know that the eggs are free range and local and what have you, so it's nice to support. I got some for my mother the other day. I have to ask her what they were like, because she will have scoffed them, I'm sure. My mum's into natural stuff, like I said before, with the herbalist and that. She's very much into natural options, if there is one, and free range and organic and all that kind of stuff. This corner's a nasty one. I always just take my time. Rural side of the Wirral. This just reminds me of home, really, to be fair, because North Wales is pretty much this everywhere. You jump off one of the A roads that lead, you know, right through the country and dive into the normal little roads in the back, lanes and what have you. It's like this for absolutely miles. And this is where I would normally be on my lane. So what am I? 65.3. So it's taken me 3.3 miles out my way. It's not too bad, I suppose. But if I had to go to Thornton North, that'd probably take me, that's the next junction with the lights, that would probably take me 5 or 6 miles out the way. Twice a day, every day. It does build up the mileage, you know. You know, you're looking at what, 10-12 miles out your way every day because of roadworks for a month. I'll check Google Maps later and see if Williston Lane is now open, because that's like the more major lane. That's this lane here. So we'll see if it's open again at the bottom. I did try last week on Friday, but it was still closed. had to turn around and come back, which is a bit of a pest, but you know. Again, very pretty, very brown and green and yellow around here with the trees at the moment. I've got to get out with my camera before all the leaves have gone, because quite a lot of them have dropped now, and I've not managed to get out yet with the camera because it's been raining all the time when it's weekend, so I don't get a chance to go and take some photos, which is a shame, because this is a very good time of the year to get some nice photos in. You know, I don't mind it being cold. A crisp morning's fine, it's just when it's absolutely pouring down, the camera's not waterproof, I end up getting condensation in the lens. It's just too much hassle, and I can't afford to get myself a load of pro gear, so I'll just have to wait. Wirral Rugby Football Club. I don't think they've been in action for a while. Gentleman out cycling. Fair play to him. Bit of a damp morning for being out in your lycra, but if you enjoy it, what the heck. See the browns and yellows in these trees. I don't know if the camera's lens will pick them up, but they're just really nice. Makes for a nice photo. Again, plug Clare House charity. Definitely support them. Children's Hospice. Do a wonderful job, those people. We've got a couple on site. We've got Clare House and we've got St John's as well. Entry onto the old site. Some angry beeping going on somewhere. Okay, well, thank you for listening to me waffle again. I'll stick this one up. People can rip it to bits.